Secret friends, unite!
Welcome to the Secret Friends Unite podcast, episode 529. This is your guide to the geek side, and I am one of your hosts, Todd Oxtra. My battles with the bunnies continues, but I'm here to talk about the Summer of Superman, part 4. I think we're on part 3. We're 4, and we're going to be talking about the Man of Steel. We're going to be talking about some awesome trailers. And we're going to be talking about some awesome stuff we saw. I'm joined with Charlie Carden.
Rockin' with Dockin', which I've never listened to Dockin', but I heard a stand-up say that when I was a kid, and the expression has never left me.
I thought it was like Jesus Rock. I think that's what they're known for. Like they're like,
Dockin'?
For some reason they got into Jesus Rock.
Oh my gosh! And it was funny. We were
like
talking,
Striper, maybe. Yeah, maybe I'm thinking Striper.
Maybe.
I don't know.
It's funny. We were talking in the B-roll about segments and how certain things can't cross over. It's like Jesus Rock it's huge. Like I have some people, friends of mine that are into that kind of stuff.
Puddle of Mud? No. What was the one that was big? Jars of Clay.
Jars of Clay. I think Puddle of Mud as well. But anyway,
Maybe.
We are, believe it or not here to talk about Jesus Rock. We are here to talk about the world of pop culture, which we do every week to aplomb. But yeah, we've got some good stuff. But up front, always the wonderful folks in our Patreon, Secret Friends Unite Super Squad over at patreon.com/Secret Friends Unite. Exclusive programs, early shows, no ad shows, great Discord benefits, 7 days for free. Half off your first month and as little as $2
and maybe a future Jesus Rock podcast,
and could be absolutely like for example, we had a lot of great activity on the Patreon this weekend. We dropped our latest episode of the Spinner Rack, where we talked about a great comic, and then my wife April and I watched Xanadu from 1980 last night. I had never seen it.
Wasn't Gene Kelly in that?
Yes, the last thing he ever did. You should tune in.
Oh, God.
Gene
It
published
Kelly.
This morning. It is without a doubt the most nonsensical thing I've seen potentially in my entire life. You need to listen to us talk about it. We went on for 45 minutes, but
I've seen lots of things on it. I still don't understand it.
Seeing it will not change that.
That's what
absolutely guarantee it. But regardless, these wonderful folks are on board the Xanadu train. My buddy Derek Trevelyan, the figure dude, Francie, who does my wife's hair, our friend Luke Lore, who's hopefully on with us next week to talk about BVS ending the Summer of Superman, in Mr. Xbox expansion pass, that is, and my uncle Tim out there in South Haven, Michigan. Also, John Sedorf, Brendan Myers, Corey in HD, Matthew Keel, my buddy Kurt Krug, who helps us out with all those great interviews that you hear over on the Spotlight, Tanya Lee, Chipotle Bear, Famous Seamus, Cam the Movie Man, Jay Newport 007, puffing those cigarettes, boop boop, and Prozac Man, aka Darth Prozac, aka you don't need to know. We love all you folks. We also give great homage to the awesome, nice family of the Twin Cities, Sean, Stella, and Henry, who head up our Super Squad. We love you all. Again, patreon.com/Secret Friends Unite. 7 days for free, half off your first month, as little as $2 a month, and potential upcoming Jesus Rock podcast led and produced by Todd, guest starring no one.
Various churches in the mid Minneapolis region and their own. I should just interview church bands. Isn't that even better?
Oh my gosh, yeah. What's it? I love comedian Pete Holmes, because he says, "Don't I just look like a youth pastor?" It stands up there with an acoustic guitar in the arms of the Lord.
With arms wide open. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of arms wide open, I'm looking at this week's cover, and it's not an arms, but it's an arm, because I can't really tell if that's
I will tell you, Charlie. Yes. So I will tell you all about this cover. So
please,
we got this covered. I'll introduce cover to Charlie once again, and Charlie will tell me about the plot, whether he's actually read the comic or not. So on this cover, it's Captain America 229. We've got They're Back, Marvel Man, Blue Streak, The Vamp, and Texas Twister, the Super Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., a traitor in our midst. Cap is fighting Quasar for some reason, even though he wasn't
No,
mentioned.
he
We've got a
wasn't.
woman in the
No,
corner.
hold on. I gotcha. It's not Quasar. That is Marvel Man, who was a
Oh,
previous identity of someone wearing the nega
he
bands.
had he had the nega bands. That's so
Yep.
odd. We've got a guy with uniblades, which is a unique take on rollerblades.
Yep, that's
And
Blue
then
Streak.
and then we've got a Texas dude with a mustache
Texas
punching
Twister.
him with a wind punch. And it
Wind
says
punch.
a traitor in our midst. And I still don't know who the woman in the corner is, but she's
You
coward.
know, this was so Keith Pollard is the artist. I've met him at shows. He still does the circuit. He's an older guy now. And is it Bob McLeod? Who McLeod? He's a Marvel guy. I'm drawing a blank. But
Well, do you want to know who? Oh, yes.
I was just
Keith
looking
Pollard,
at that.
Bob McLeod, but
Bob
you know who
McLeod,
did?
okay.
But he didn't do the internal art.
No. Just to cover. Was this Michael Zeck at the time?
Nope.
I'm trying to remember who's the artist.
Sal Buscema.
Buscema. We learned that from JM, remember?
But did we really learn? Because I don't think we remember.
I still can't say JM's name. He's going to forever be Wally Lumbago to me. That does come from one of our Spotlight interviews. So
and do you know who the writer was?
Is this isn't in the Gruenwald's run yet, is it?
No.
Okay, who is it?
Roger McKenzie.
I don't know Roger McKenzie's work. Besides, that's the name of a character on Outlander, a show that you won't watch.
Which when did this title come out, Charlie?
78 in the upper left-hand corner.
Don't look at it.
Oh, all right. Wait, okay.
Obscure a few. Yep.
No, it's okay. I'm not looking. I got my hand in front of it.
Okay.
So the plot, the woman in the corner is somebody from Cap's past or his inner circle. She's the traitor, I'm going to say. Because, yeah. No,
no. So you know that, or you just?
No, I don't. I have not. This was before my affinity with the Cap title started with the Gruenwald's run, which ran for 100 issues. I think until his death in the late '90s. An enormous fan of his work, but I know the Texas Twister from an appearance in the West Coast Avengers. I think Quasar and Marvel Man are the same person. It was a name change, and then the Blue Streak I was describing to you. Was killed by Scourge during the Gruenwald run, but he had changed his outfit. But Cap had a flash overhead, like I've seen this guy before. I recognize the face, and he saw him as the Blue Streak, looking very 70s. So the plot line is, the traitor is the woman, and she pimped Cap out to this trio, and they're gonna squeeze him and beat him up, and so they have a fight. Educate me.
Wrong.
Okay.
Let's tell you the synopsis. SHIELD agents survey the remains of their decommissioned New York HQ. After they leave, Captain America emerges with Constrictor from the wreckage and interrogates Assassin for information about the corporation, who he believes is responsible for the Falcon's disappearance. With his apartment still a mess, Cap stops by Avengers Mansion for some traveling money and takes a bus to SHIELD's new Los Angeles HQ. Cap confronts the SHIELD super agents and fights the team to flesh out the traitor in the ranks. Cap's gambit works, and Blue Streak reveals himself as a corporation spy. Vamp savagely pummels Blue Streak for information, but Cap stops her by removing her Absorbo belt. Disgusted, Texas Twister quits the super agents. Blue Streak reveals the corporation is holding Falcon at Alcatraz.
What is an Absorbo belt? That I'm sorry, absolutely.
So is that Vamp in the corner?
Definitely sounds like a female hygiene product. I'm sorry to say.
Is that Vamp?
Yeah, it has to be, because you're right. The blurb reveals
it is Vamp.
4 names. Yeah.
Yep. But I'm looking at her.
She's just wearing a blouse and apparently some kind of super tampon. I don't know. That's what it sounded like to me. Absorbo belt?
No, that's not how it works. There's no belts involved with female hygiene. So
I'm thinking of the chastity belt. Okay, well, that's a fascinating story. This is, I believe, the entire Volume 1 run of Captain America is available on Marvel Unlimited. So if you got a burning desire, you can go check this out. I'm curious, or I would be if I didn't now know. I do want to see what Absorbo belt looks like, though. So
Absorbo belt. And apparently the plot carried on between, it's a crossover between Hulk 229, and also continues in Avengers 179. So Charlie, it was a pseudo event.
Wow. Yeah, they didn't have a lot of crossovers back in the day, so that's except annuals were real big. But in the 70s, it didn't get to be a real big thing till Secret Wars or
You just
crossing
had
over
one
annuals.
shots,
Yeah.
right? Where somebody would just show
Yeah.
up to take on.
Yeah, well, but yeah, had Marvel Team Up
Vamp.
and Marvel 2-in-1. So you had Thing or Spider-Man having
Well,
team
no,
up,
just
so.
like even individuals of series of just
Oh,
comics
right.
you'd see. Oh, and look who it is! It's Wolverine because we need a sales bump.
Yeah, exactly. Wolverines and well, that was a big thing for the '90s. Like this comic has Spider-Man, who is the most popular comic character in the world at that point. But anyway, I digest. I'm surprised that I didn't know that this was the Vamp, because looking at that, that really does remind me of that time of our senior news correspondent, Madam Webb. The green blouse gave it away. But yeah, at this time, I think she was posing for comic book cover magazines, and making pennies on the dollar. She makes even less now, but she does have a cozy pad out there in California. She does hang out at the corner of Hollywood and Vine, with the latest news scoops for us in what we'd like to call the news with Madam Webb. Let's go.
Now it's time for Madam Webb's Rumors and News. Take it away, boys.
Thank you, Madam Webb. It's the summer of Superman, Madam Webb, and just to let you know that I had heard that you auditioned for the role of Lois Lane. Unfortunately, did not work out.
Ouch.
They asked you if you wanted to come back as Lois Lane's grandmother. You were disgusted, and you are now quitting Hollywood for ageism.
Burned her SAG card like she burned her bra back in the 60s. Well, off the top here, just this morning, I'm very fortunate because of the roles that we play. I do get screeners of upcoming Star Trek shows. A couple of weeks ago, I did get a screener with the first 5 of 10 episodes in the new seasons of Strange New Worlds. So, and we finished it this morning. We were really trying to stretch it out, because like, well, if we watch them all right now, then we'll be like, I want to watch more, and it'll be another who the hell knows how long until the next one comes. But so thoroughly enjoyable. Absolutely love that. If you've not tuned into the show, you're in luck listening to us, because before at our episode at the end of June for Code 47, Todd will be joining us. We're going to be doing a look back over seasons 1 and 2 of Strange New Worlds. Then we're going to be talking favorite moments, and then looking forward to what we're hoping to see out of season 3. But just this week, we did get a kind of pre-launch trailer. Do keep in mind, next week at the Tribeca Film Festival in New York City, there will be Strange New Worlds content aired for people attending that event. They haven't been specific about exactly what that will be. Will it be the first episode? That's what I suspect. Which the first episode is, it's no spoilers. It's a conclusion to the cliffhanger that ended season 2. So as you can imagine,
Gorn!
It's very gorny. Gorn with the wind. That's what they should have called it, but they didn't.
Oh, yeah.
I know, missed opportunity. But this was a fun trailer. Probably about half of the stuff was contained within the first 5 episodes, so it's familiar to me.
Okay.
One thing that was not is now officially like my favorite Star Trek thing of the modern era. It's no secret to anyone who listens to this show that I worship Patton Oswalt. He is my favorite stand-up comedian of the modern era, and he has dabbled around. He did a very brief voice role as an animated cat in Star Trek Picard on a pad screen that a character was looking at in season 1 or season 2. But other than that, he's never been in Star Trek, and he's an enormous Trekker like myself. So, wrapping up this trailer, which again, it's available from the link in the show notes here, you do see him having an exchange with Spock, playing a Vulcan character, but still just being Patton. He just oozes Patton, no matter what he does. Having it, I don't even want to spoil how great the exchange was, but it had me
super cute.
It had me
super cute meat.
It had me slapping the couch with enthusiasm. I was so excited. So yeah, this looks great. We also got, they're really all over stuff. Oh, you gave me a page not found.
No, I changed the link because it came up. I don't know what happened to my link, but I redid the link.
Too quick. Screen Rant. Come on, Screen Rant. This is supposed to have the episode titles. Oh, it's the big thing that hadn't downloaded yet. Yeah, so we got
big picture in the middle.
Yeah, big picture in the middle. But yeah, what's fun about these episode titles is that it gives you just a glimpse into what the episode
flavor,
might be.
a taste.
So I'm going to blast through these real quick. You don't have to write them down. Follow the link. Episode 1 is unsurprisingly called Hegemony Part 2, wrapping up the Gorn. Episode 2, Wedding Bell Blues, which isn't that a Cream song or Clapton? That's Bell Bottom Blues. Sorry. Episode 3 is Shuttle to California. Oh man, that episode! Holy cow! Episode 4 is the gem of the first 5. It's called A Space Adventure Hour. I'm not going to say
the
anything
murder
else.
mystery, right? It's going to be a murder mystery.
You've seen clips. I will say no more. Number 5 is it's a nail biter through the lens of time, and then you're into the episodes that I haven't seen. 6 is the Cellet Who Ate Its Tail. A Cellet is a Vulcan teddy bear that has 6-inch fangs. It's basically you've seen it in several episodes, and it has a tail.
Not like a little puffy tail, because bears really don't have long tails. They got like a little nub.
Well, it's like a teddy bear. It's a gag from an episode of TOS, but yeah, think of a Cellet as like a chupacabra, a big ferocious beast. Episode 7, a variation on Who Moved My Cheese? What is Starfleet? ? Episode 8, and this is one heavily featured in clips we saw last fall. I'm guessing 4.5 Vulcans. The clip showed us.
Maybe Charlie Sheen can come in and then get John Cryer, get 2.5 men, but 4.5 Vulcans.
Vulcans. No, okay. Episode 9 is Terrarium, so you can expect our people to be small and running around with turtles.
Is that a crossover with the video game Terraria, which is very popular?
There you go. And episode 10, New Life and New Civilizations, probably a cliffhanger of some kind. Would not be surprised. So, Todd, again, we're gonna pack everybody's ears. Coming out on June 23, talking about Strange New Worlds over on Code 47. But what do you think? Looking at these titles, uninitiated, which one absolutely grabs you more than any other?
If I'm going for just comedy, 4.5 Vulcans seems to fit the mix, but A Space Adventure Hour just is the one that grabs me because I believe that's going to be it's because every season they seem to have one kind of goofy, kind of weird, kind of just a different type of episode. We had the one I thought that was the worst that I didn't really love was the Warrenham fairy tale because we have to tell the story. That one was a little too much for me. The musical was well intentioned. Some of the songs just kind of fell flat. But this one, if it's what I think it is based on what we've seen, I'm all in. I love a murder mystery. I said, because we watched it right before bed last night and I turned April, and I said, I think that might be my favorite episode of the series. Excellent.
Nailed it in such incredible way. So, but yeah, you will be seeing it streaming on July 17. That is a Thursday. New episodes every Thursday for 10 weeks.
They're not doing a 2-drop at first or anything. It's going to be single issues or episodes.
Not to my knowledge. I don't think this list had dates.
I got to milk this baby because there's not anything on the horizon. So yeah,
they don't have anything until now. Starfleet Academy did wrap. That was something we learned from Jonathan Frakes when we interviewed him.
Is that a fall? Maybe
that's going to be it's going to be next year. That's going to be next year. Spring. Yeah. In the past, February releases were quite common. For Star Trek within this kind of more modern era, and then there would be a summer release, which is what we're looking at right now. But we don't have Prodigy, we don't have Lower Decks, Picard is gone, Discovery is gone. Less said about that, the better. So this is what we got, and so the hopes are high for me for Starfleet Academy because of the cast, and I'm hoping the cast will take my somewhat misgivings about Discovery and do something kind of better with that time period with a new group of characters and a different focus because you're dealing with younger characters. Because it's based
Charlie, you're going to have they're going to be a great episode where somebody's rushing a frat. You're going to have a great episode about a cheating scandal. You're going to have hazing. Think of all of the cool just plot lines you get from Saved by the Bell and maybe 90210.
2 dates to the prom, the party when your parents are away for the weekend.
Somebody gets caught drinking. Maybe somebody's taking some stimulants to stay up at night. I'm so excited.
I'm so scared. Oh my goodness. All right. Moving on. We have a sequel that looks way scarier than the first one. So what do we got?
So Black Phone 2 is coming back, and they removed and it's now just Black Phone 2.
Black Phone.
Yes. So at this point, we have a jump forward in time from the first movie where the characters involved are now a little bit older, and they essentially gets to the point where you realize that they thought what happened and ended continues because the Grabber is back. We get Ethan Hawke is back as well.
used to
Yeah,
pick up
the
like dog
Grab-O-Matic.
poop.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and be like,
Or
oh, I
like
got it.
the hand you buy as a kid because you're like, that's cool.
Now scratch
But
my
we
back.
find, it seems like this one's going to be more tilted towards his sister, who has some type of psychic ability. She can reach out to either like spirits beyond or whatever. And now like she's completely involved because we now see her in the basement. We
Oh, no.
see her basically getting tortured by the grabber. And this is we see some more. This one is set in the winter, so we do see like a campground and see potentially three boys who looks like they might have been victims of the grabber as well, because we see pictures
A lot of
playing the snow.
blood.
So this is basically saying we're all in. The grabber is maybe going to be a new super entity, kind of like a Freddy, a Jason,
like
one of those
Pennywise.
characters. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, that looks wild. This was the smash hit in 23 in the summertime, 22.
Yep.
But yeah, it was big, and I think that of course, we've had our summer movie competition for almost a decade now, and so I don't think this is one that we would have suspected, especially since it was new IP. But it just kind of comes along and sweeps, kind of lending credence to the theory that something always pops up in a summer of sequels and franchises. You'll get something that goes hello, or you'll get just a horror movie that overperforms the way the the Final Destination film is doing this summer, which I'll talk about in the Geek Easy because we did actually go see it. So, but yeah, I'm excited for this. But it's not in the summer space, so I might have mischaracterized. We're getting this in October, which is spooky season, which is the most apropos to the format, I think. Although horror, good, bad, or otherwise, can really do good at any time because it's got an audience.
Yeah, and Scott Derrickson's back for this, so you get the director back, who he helped create the story of this. For some reason, I thought Joe Hill was involved in this, like he wrote. It's
me too.
But apparently not. So I was wrong.
Okay.
I had heard and misheard. So that's kind of cool. Original idea, original horror film, and unfortunately though, it seems like nothing can just stand alone anymore. Like Megan didn't stand alone. Well, now we've got the Black Phone not standing alone. And somebody was joking that now the Saw is coming back. So we're getting the Saw franchise because now it's going to be owned by Blumhouse
Disney?
or A24.
Oh, okay.
Yep. No, not Disney. No. And the funny part is, like, I guess, remember that movie Ma about Octavia Spencer, where she was like killing kids or something?
Wasn't it Mom? You said Ma. I think it's Mama.
Ma.
Is it Ma? Like
Mama?
M-A-W?
Maybe it's Mama. Maybe it's Mama.
Mom? Yeah, Mama.
Yeah. But that's coming back too. So now they're like, it's going to be like the combination of like all of these weird characters getting sequels to movies you never thought they would. So
right, yeah,
bring them on until they fail and burn to the ground.
Yeah, the real barometer of any of this stuff is you can crank it out until nobody goes to see it, like, and then it'll go away. Kind of like one of the movies that you went to go see over the weekend that we're going to talk about in the Geek Easy. It was a swing and a miss. But anyway, something that has not been missing in the most recent few years is the Alien franchise, because Alien Romulus, was that last summer or was it earlier this year? I can't remember now.
Alien Romulus, I believe, was
last summer.
Last year?
Yeah, it was in the bracket. But we're getting our first Alien television program from the good folks at Hulu, called Alien Earth, from Noah Hawley. I think he directed the last film. He's definitely been involved in the franchise. Not quite remembering. No.
Noah Hawley's done a lot of TV.
Okay, gotcha.
So basically, Alien Romulus was August 2024. Fede Alvarez did that, then Noah Hawley, he's done a lot of TV work.
He was up for a Star Trek project, and I think it fizzled. His name was associated with the JJ verse.
He writes the most recent Fargo series. He wrote Legion. He worked on Bones. So mainly, I would say most likely you know him from both Fargo and Legion. So great TV showrunner. And the fact that this is coming out. And I when I saw this trailer, Charlie, I'm like, this looks like it could be theater level quality. I mean, did not look like a very cheap TV series. And
the line is forever blurred with that kind of stuff. So let me run it down. This is set in the year 2020, just a couple of years before the first film.
2120.
2120. Yes, it's during COVID. That's
crap. It already happened.
Yeah, exactly. That's why everybody.
That's how COVID happened. It was the alien.
They're using the face huggers as masks. It's amazing. Yeah, so it's 2120, a couple of years before the first film, and remember that Romulus was just after it, because it was the creature from the first film that ends up on the Romulus. That was what the film was all about. I'm sure if you're an Alien fan, you've seen it by now. No big surprise. But yes, this is set in a world, which I assume is Earth, because that's the name of the show, ruled by corporate interests. Never heard of it. Certainly can't happen here. Locked in a race to try and unlock the key of immortality and human longevity. I think that was the whole Wayland Yutani thing when it was Guy Pearce was Yutani, wasn't he?
Mm-hmm.
And he was trying to preserve his life. So and then
Waylon Smithers and Utani. We always wonder what happened to that guy. Yes.
Have the Rolling Stones killed. Yes. Let's see here. So one of those interests, Prodigy. I'm a fire starter. Wicked fire starter. Remember that one, Prodigy from the 90s? No,
yes,
nobody?
I did love them. Yes.
Very good. Manages to blow the race wide open with the arrival of Wendy, Cindy Chandelier, or Chandler if you prefer, a hybrid with the mind of a young human girl and a completely synthetic android body. Definitely not going to turn evil and try to kill everybody the same way that Fassbender did in those like middle alien movies. There was it Prometheus? Was he David
Prometheus,
the Evil Android?
and then there was this other movie following that which I never watched.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it did continue that story. So yeah, this is out on August 12, and it looks. This was a longer trailer. It was a couple of minutes, I think, and we've also got Timothy Oliphant, so the Marshal from The Mandalorian. Alex Lothar, Samuel Blenkin, and other names I'm not really picking up on.
Babu Sassier, yeah, Babu.
Yes, I know. I wonder, are these just maybe a bunch of Canadians? I don't know. As everything is filmed in either Toronto or Vancouver. I'm sure. It seems like.
Well, and
and Yutani does appear. Sandra Yee Sensadiver is Yutani.
Like Sensodyne, the toothpaste corporation.
Yes. Corporation.
It is interesting that we are getting, the synthoids in this introduced, kind of like this seems like the very early version. Right. But we have continued to see that nobody is good at keeping aliens or other type of bad creatures contained. Nobody's. It seems like it's all like, about that, right?
It's Jurassic Park. Let's go back
exactly
to where the dinosaurs are, because it went great the last 8 times. There's been like 6, alien movies, and every one of them, you can never contain the xenomorphs. They break loose and they kill everybody. But maybe not this time. Maybe this time we'll get it right. So, yeah.
And we're getting 5 creatures they found. They said 5 species from the darkest corners of the universe that are most dangerous. So I did see a squid-like thing with an eye. So we are, and now this is on Earth. So it's really interesting that where this goes next, because like we know, Charlie, you can only play in the past so long. You have to continue to going. So I don't know. What was the last movie that actually was set in current or future time with aliens? Was it 4? Was it the one where
the one where you're thinking of Alien Resurrection? They took like a big jump forward from this time period, because basically this plus this show plus Romulus plus the original 3 movies. But then again, you got a big jump between the first movie and the second movie. It was like 60 years because she was in cryosleep. Remember? And then they found her.
Yep.
And then it was that was Aliens.
Winona Ryder, her clone.
Then you're thinking that's the 4th one. In the 3rd one, she crashes on the prison planet, and the guy who played Charles S. Dutton was there, and it was all prisoners. And and she dies in that one because they clone her like 200 years later, and that's the Winona Ryder one. So that's the furthest in the future that they've gone, I believe.
I'm giving you the countdown of everything here. So I found the website. So basically, here we go. First movie, Prometheus, 2089. Okay. Then we had Alien Earth, which is going to be between them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Alien Covenant was 2104, which is weird.
Okay.
Which was earlier. The sequel to Prometheus, I believe.
Okay.
Alien 2122. 2122, yeah. And then we had Alien Romulus 2142.
Oh, it was
20 years later.
Because they pick up that chunk of debris that says Nostromo on it, which was the name of the ship in Alien. It obviously blew up, and the alien in that was like a little frozen chunk, and then he dethaws, and then it runs around this Romulus station. So that was 20 years
Aliens was 2179.
Right.
Alien 3, 2179. So basically not that long ago.
Yep.
Alien Resurrection, 2379. That was 200 years.
Big jump, yeah.
And that's it.
Yep.
That was the last
That
one.
was as
So we've
far
had
as they've
nothing
gone.
since when was that film? Had to be like
1997
oh
was the fourth
wow.
movie.
So it
Yeah.
has and Resurrection was with Winona Ryder. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
So
Yeah.
in terms of what you said, and
3
almost
was the prison, right? 3 was the
correct.
prison.
Yep. The
Yes.
Rock
Okay.
with I
So
say
I
Rock.
have seen
Yeah.
all of those. I just have
Yeah.
not seen Covenant. I think Covenant now is the only movie I have not seen.
And that was after Prometheus,
The sequel
right?
to Prometheus, yeah.
I own that one, but I'm sure you can find it. But Danny McBride was in that one, which to me was the bright spot. And he was playing a smart ass cowboy like Danny McBride type. So woohoo! But anyway, so this is August 12th. Tune in because it's Hulu and Disney Plus. You probably already have it, so yeah, tune on in. All right, Todd, an actress whose presence eludes you, is joining a galaxy far, far away. Talk to me about Mia Goth.
So Mia Goth, I know Charlie, you're kind of intrigued by her.
I've
She
seen
has been in
seen
the X
movies.
series Pearl, and she is
Maxine
now
with 3 X's.
yes, Maxine. What was the last film that came out where it was kind of set in 19?
That was it.
Was
it
it X
It
or
was
Maxine?
no. X is the first one set in the 70s. And I'll walk you through
Pearl
it.
was the second one that went back in the past.
Went backwards. It was like 50 years prior. And then Maxine was your same character from X, who was an adult film star in the 1980s.
And there was a
LA.
serial killer.
It was it was kind of a riff on Son of Sam. And it ended up being, it was, I think you can find all of them on, I'm not sure which streamer you'd have
it's
to
on
look it
something.
They're out there.
Yep. So she's also going to be in Frankenstein, I believe, the movie Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein. So she's in that, and then she has also been cast in Star Wars Starfighter, and she will apparently be a villain in this film. So that is interesting. Sean Levy is behind this with Ryan Gosling, and at this point, we don't know a lot more about this. This movie is tilted to come out in 2027. And other than that, we don't know much at all.
Interesting tidbit, if I might. It was quite a flap after a Nora star and Oscar winner Mickey Madison turned this role down for mysterious circumstances now revealed to be the Moolah.
Of course.
Right.
She's an Oscar winner now.
Right, exactly. So she said, I just want an Oscar, give me more money. And Disney, because Disney is obviously cash strapped, they said no. Good pick. Good work. Good work not having an Oscar winner in Star Wars, Disney. Very shrewd.
Apparently she began acting in 2013 and just has continued to get all of these big roles. The thing that I always think is funny is that her name, Mia Goth. Goth just seems like a fake name. I don't know, Charlie. Is her dad named Bob Goth? I mean,
right. He goes by Robert. Like
is it a Hollywood name? I never know.
Yeah,
I have to look and see.
Give it away. Give it a googs and see what comes up.
I'm looking it up now just to see. Oh, here's her name. God, this name is ridiculous.
Fran Jongerstein.
No, her name is Mia Gypsy Mello de Silva Goth.
Okay, it's good
that
to
is
go
her
with Mia Goth,
full name.
They're gonna leave that one.
Partner is Shia LaBeouf. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I thought he was
she's
dead.
31, born in England, and her mother's Brazilian and her father's Canadian.
Okay. She
originally
from
Nova
England, or
and her father is Canadian. Yeah.
Nova Scotia. Is she like near where in Nova Scotia? Is she maybe was Mark's neighbor there on CBI?
Just that her father is Canadian, originally from London. So, but she was born in London. So other than that, but yeah, how do you get a name of 6 names?
And again, does she legally have to have that on like government ID? Did she grow up in England or she grew up in Canada?
That is the tough part because my wife, it's Maria Christina Fraser Oxtra. So if you don't got your shit right with your naming conventions on your social security card, all of your things, it causes so much problems. So folks,
go to
make
SSI.
it simple.
Yep.
Make it simple.
And we men don't have such difficulty because we don't ever often having a reason to change our names. Like I've had the same
No.
name since birth, and so have you.
A lot
So
of
it's
people
nice
do
to see.
the hyphenated when they get
Yep.
married because they want to keep,
Yep.
which I think makes sense, but does add some confusion. Sometimes people don't know you're a
Well,
parent of somebody because you're on the name.
yeah,
But you know, quite honestly, these days it doesn't really matter because some people never get married and have kids together and live for
right.
14 years. So you
Yeah,
never know.
and they pick they pick a last name out of a hat that they could just make up a last name. His last name is Running Bear. I don't know. It could be anything you want.
So Charlie,
Anything you
let's
want.
predict. Is she going to be a
Yes.
human? Is she going to be a villain? What's your prediction, and what will be her Star Wars name?
I
Just for
don't
having fun
think
with
that,
this.
like we do over in Holocron, give her a Star Wars
Sure.
name and a job, though she's a villain. So not that being a villain is a job per se, but I mean, it could be. So I doubt with someone with so striking a look that they would make her like a heavily prosthetic up kind of CGI-ish looking alien. So I think she'll be, because again, the plot line, I already closed the article, but I've read this previously. It says the rumored plot, it was at the bottom. Give me a second to scroll. Rumored plot is that Gosling's pilot and a younger character, potentially his nephew, have a mentor-mentee relationship, although that remains unconfirmed, and they go on an adventure, etc. So yeah, I
Wow,
think
deep plot.
Yeah, I know. Well, they're not coughing up the details, which I get. I'm thinking perhaps she's some kind of saucy bounty hunter. I hope she's not going to be. I hope she's not going to be Dr. Aphra. That would be. Oh, she couldn't be because this is after the sequel trilogy. So
She could be
too old.
Maybe a daughter.
She could be. I think. Yeah. Well, of course, in Star Wars, everyone is related and knows each other. So yes, it could be. But yeah, I think she's going to be some kind of bounty hunter-esque character, some kind of ne'er-do-well, because we know she's a villain, and bounty hunters are very amoral and they just care about money. So yeah, that's my guess. Bounty hunter, but not really made up in a way that looks ridiculous. That's what I think. What about you? What do you say?
I'm gonna say she is going to work for one of the crime syndicates, maybe as a bounty hunter, maybe part of that. I think she's gonna.
Name. Let me get a name generator here. Keep talking. Yeah. Keep talking.
I think she's gonna be a member of the Leppy race, which would be Jackson the Rabbit.
Oh,
Space Rabbit.
There you go. Yeah, Jackson with not spelled the traditional way, but with 2 X's. I have
X.
We were talking about him on Holocron recently, and I was able to reach over and grab.
Of course, you are. Everybody's talking about Jackson.
Yeah. Well, he's canon now. They canonized him in one of the novels. So, okay. Female names. Let's do this. Generate. Todd, give me a number between 1 and 10.
2.
Aylin Kardar. Cardar. First
Kardar.
name Ailyn. All right.
Rolls off the tongue. Kardar.
I'll give you one. I'm going to give you best out of 3. I'm going to regenerate. Give me another number between 1 and 10. Okay. Give me another number between 1 and 10.
4.
Anama Tane. Tane. All right. Tane. One more time. Give me a number between 1 and 10.
3.
Linda, Lina Dystray. Distray. Disc tray.
Linda! Nobody! We don't need a Linda in the Star Wars universe, Charlie.
Like the thing you used to have in your trunk in the 90s with the 5 discs.
I'm going back with somebody Tane.
Yeah, Tane. Yes, exactly. Oh, you would like number 2 is Zayla Courtney with 2 E's at the end. Yeah, that's just, Star Wars names are bad. Boo! All right. Last one's all you, because they can't make it good for me because all I'm going to be thinking about is what comes to mind is what's that one that turned really bad really fast? The Master Chief video game adaptation.
Oh, Halo? No, that's bad.
This is your favorite thing you said to me once. This is like,
yes, Mass Effect is amazing. It's a great combination of best parts of Star Trek along with amazing exploration of worlds and lots of combat, lots of kick-ass. So this is like Mass Effect is about a group of primarily about Commander Shepard, who is a vanguard. He goes out and he essentially is almost like a U.S. Marshal, and the fact that he has special access, he has special clearance to do whatever he wants, but he essentially is in charge of a team that he assembles to run his ship called the Normandy. He gets asked to investigate disruption on a planet. then all hell breaks loose and you get like a bigger conspiracy theory. And Mass Effect is great because it's all about the way that they set the I guess the foundation of this game trilogy was the decisions you make in game 1 and game 2 will carry out and culminate in game 3. Like it would say basically
choose your own adventure kind of thing, like
a little bit, yeah. Like,
such and
are
such,
you going to
yeah.
choose to kill a alien race? Like,
Right.
that is bad. Do you want to be in charge of genocide? And then
Yeah.
you could make decisions, and you then would make decisions that were good or bad, determined on how you felt. Like, am I going to be cocky and good? Or cocky and nasty? Am I going to be good? And then those decisions would start basically changing your reputation. So
Yeah.
love the series. It stumbled at the end just because they realized it was so hard to bring all those decisions back and where it culminated. But it was so good because it was like the first game was really felt like a standalone. The second one though picked up from the end, and it was about getting your crew back together. So it's like that perfect gotta reassemble a team. You get to know the team members. You can have romance, which is great. And just really loved this series. I thought it's amazing. It's got comics and things like that. Really well done. I really enjoy it. And there's so the Commander Shepard can either be a woman or a male. So a lot of people like the Femme Shep or the female Shep version. So which is cool too. Yeah. So it's very cool.
Okay.
What's his name is in this? Martin Sheen had a great role. He played like a kind of a basically he played called, I can't remember what his name was. I'm blanking on his name, but he basically played like a smuggler of information, and he had a great role in this too. So really love this, but apparently we are getting this moving forward, so which is cool. EA owns the rights now, and the company that made the series also made they made KOTOR, the original Knights of the Old Republic, Charlie. So they've got a very good resume, and they also did. I'm trying to remember the other game they did that you might have heard, but we'll talk about that later. But at this point, we've got Apple TV. Okay, no, let's see. What is this coming out on? So basically, we've got Doug Jung is going to be the showrunner. He was the co-writer for 2016 Star Trek Beyond.
Not bad.
Which was one of the better ones.
It was really the best of that group.
Yep.
Yeah.
He recently ended show running the show Chief of War for Apple TV Plus.
Okay.
He'll be working alongside writer Dan Casey, and both will be EPs for the franchise, along with producer Mike Gamble. And this is going to be moving forward for Prime Video. But it's kind of cool that we actually have people on this. The fact, though, that this is such early stages, we will probably not see this until 2028.
Well, it sounds like this has been in development since 2007 when it first
came
around.
It makes sense because Mass Effect was huge at that time, and a lot of they get the rights, and it's like, what are you going to do with it?
And just nobody can,
like you said, Halo.
Yeah,
Halo had different little mini series. They had little like animated things, and they finally made the show. And obviously, it could be a good, bad, and ugly. We've had The Witcher. We've now had The Last of Us. We've had Fallout. So you get potentially good or bad.
Right.
I'm excited for this because it's a great universe. It's fantastic. It's open for exploration, and they can do a lot with it.
And so, honestly, if this goes awry and it's terrible, will it be a heartbreak for you? Is this like your biggest man, they got to get this right, or I'm just gonna be devastated?
I'll be highly disappointed, but I understand. I saw the games, so it's not like somebody's gonna take those away from me. Nope, those don't exist anymore.
That's very true. It's it's the same theory with people who can't wrap their head around newer Star Wars or newer Star Trek. It's like the old stuff is not gone. Somebody didn't take your DVDs and light them on fire and they don't exist anymore. You can still go and enjoy other stuff.
It's like the Star Trek movies that came out recently.
Yeah.
They're not they're for some people, they love them. For other people, just ignore them. Like the prequels. Just ignore the prequels. We
have a young lady in in two of our Discords, Jordan, you've seen her name, who that was her introduction to Star Trek, and she absolutely loves it. And while I don't agree, it doesn't make any difference how I feel at all, because entertainment is about something that's entertaining to you.
At best, if you try to make them cry, and they'll hate you for it. And
exactly.
Thanks for coming away from Star Trek.
Thanks for coming to my TED Talk. All right, well, that takes us out of the news. The Geek Easy is primed. Todd's already there because he planned ahead. I'm still sitting in my basement, but I got to get that Uber over because I'm going to get my drink on. So it pulls up. beautiful Cadillac Escalade. I get in the back seat. AM radio is blaring, playing this familiar advertisement.
Talk nerdy to me. Talk nerdy to me.
We're sitting in the Geek Easy, cover bands playing, drinks are poured, and we are ready to get our nerd on. And this week, I was very surprised. My wife actually wanted to see Ballerina. She has not seen any of the John Wick films. I filled her in a little bit about the overall world of John Wick and where this potentially could fit in to the world of John Wick. This is part of the world of John Wick in regards to the title Ballerina comes from the fact that there are these crime bounty hunter factions, and one of them, the Roma, I am gonna screw up the name, it's called the Ruska Roma, and that is headed by
the guy,
like
I know,
Angelica Houston.
Oh, there you go.
Angelica Houston. She is the head of it. She is like basically she's the head of a ballerina company who also trains people to be assassins, killers, bounty hunters.
So it's the Red Room basically, because there was dancing and
essentially, and then so they are truly ballerinas. They dance, but they're trained to do everything else, and it's not just women; it's men as well. So it's a mixture, and basically, this is a revenge film set in the John Wick universe, where
the Wickiverse.
No big spoilers, but Ana de Armas is in this, and when she was a child, she saw her father get killed by this skeezy group. And they happen to find her because her father gets killed. They get Winston, who is the head of I'm blanking on the name of the hotel.
The Continental.
Not the Continental. Yeah, there you go. Continental. He comes in. He basically says, "Hey, I can help you, and I can give you a reason to live." And he takes her to Angelica Houston, and basically she decides that she wants to train to kill and avenge her father. So that's the plot of where we go. It's a revenge. Ana de Armas is excellent in this. She is, last time we saw her do something really cool, high end, was when she was in the last James Bond film. She played an agent in that. I think people said, oh, wow, she was really good in that. She should do something. Well, she does, and she's amazing in this.
And how are people receiving the film?
Well, I don't really care about that because ultimately,
of course not.
Did I enjoy the film? Budget is, what it does.
Correct.
And it probably says more about the fact that a lot of people just are not prejudging a movie because it has a female in the lead of an action film. There's not a lot of big films.
Very, very unfortunate. And as we were talking about in the pre-roll, somehow, no matter what, I mean, like you showed us on the Discord this morning that General Mills, who you work for, has the contract for the Fantastic Four, and people are probably seeing that in a cereal box saying, "Oh, there's going to be a Fantastic Four movie." It's impossible to necessarily reach people in even the most conventional ways to let them know, hey, this is a John Wick movie. You like John Wick? It's in the tradition, and it. Go watch the trailer. People have never seen the trailer. People just look at it and say, "Oh, well, it's a girl action movie, and I'm not into that." There's no accounting for perception or taste. So, but it's just it's not blowing up so far.
It's hard because I mean, if there is where you have a series with a female lead, it's typically been tied to like a franchise or IP. Think of like Hunger Games. You think of Twilight, things like that.
Jurassic World now with ScarJo's taking over that franchise.
Yeah, and there's not. I mean, I was just even looking at the highest performing female led films. Gravity, Sandra Bullock.
Okay.
That was big. Hunger Games. Maleficent, Angelina Jolie tied to a property. Wonder Woman tied to a property.
Right.
Twilight, Inside Out, that's animated. It's a little bit different.
Right.
Finding Dory. I'm going on. Rogue One, Star Wars story tied to a franchise.
Yeah.
Captain Marvel tied to a Marvel IP.
That movie was big. Yeah, the first movie was big hit. Not so much the second
Beauty and the Beast, Frozen, Star Wars Last Jedi. I mean, Titanic. That was unique because I think Titanic was more than the sum of its actors. It was a event.
Yeah.
Leonardo DiCaprio, most people would say I'm seeing it for Leo
Yeah.
because he was hot. So
Right.
yeah, when I look at this list, it just feels like there's just not a lot of unique properties or something like that. This
Right.
was tied to a franchise with John Wick, and it even has it in the title. But once again, and John Wick was even in the trailer. So I
Right.
think they did as much as they could to
Yeah, I
make
agree.
sure
I
John
agree.
Wick people who saw the previous movies show up for this.
Right.
And it doesn't look like they didn't. But I really enjoyed this film. Norman Reedus is in this in a
I
very
saw.
small role.
Right.
You know, it's got a great fact that Gabriel Byrne is in this, and he's excellent.
Gabriel Byrne, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, says the bad guy, but it's got a
Yeah.
lot of the same repeating characters. I would say Anna de Armas is the big new one, but we also get Lance Reddick, and I think this is his last role. Because the dude is kept on saying it's his last role. I'm like, well, I think this is his last role because he's been gone for almost a year and a half.
They didn't Tupac him, yeah, exactly. So,
no.
well, good. I mean, yeah, like
very
you said,
fun, very
yeah,
cool, lots
that's
of
what
different
matters.
showcases. But it is definitely a John Wick film at its heart. So if you enjoy the John Wick films, you will enjoy this quite a bit. And John Wick is in this. So
Yes.
I really liked it. My wife said it was a little bit too much, which I get. These movies are so full of action and violence, and that is the plot. It is
Yeah.
not anything other than that. And there's
Yeah.
minimal dialogue, and that's about it.
I would admit that that's what lost me. We watched the first one on View, and I was like, this is just a punch 'em up, and it doesn't seem...
It's a revenge film. I mean, most revenge films, it's get to the end of the day and, you know, get to the end of the plot and kill the person and what happened along the way. Lots of cool action.
Yes, so. and the enemies that we murdered along the way.
Because Charlie, do you remember what the plot was for all the Mission Impossible films? Majority of those are like the plot's just ridiculous. What's a Deus Machina? It's like,
hey,
yeah.
I'm not defending Mission Impossible in any way, shape, or form. The same way that I would never defend the Fast and the Furious movies, but we saw them. You and I both saw it last night. We had a fun time talking about it.
And I saw Hobbs and Shaw, so I mean, hey,
exactly.
I put my dues in to see something dumb.
Right.
Still don't know what happened, and I can't believe it happened. But yeah, and then you and I both saw Predator, Killer of Killers on Disney Plus.
This one is on Hulu, Disney Plus. This is one of two Predator properties that we're getting this year. This was the animated one. We're getting a live action one in the fall. I'm trying to remember when that other one's coming out.
Badlands, yeah, I believe it's a October-ish.
And that's not big screen, is it? Now I'm forgetting. I know we've talked
about it. It is big
screen.
Yes,
big screen. Very good. Well, this was great. So this was cut into 3 vignettes, culminating, with the 3 vignettes culminating in a 4th act. At the end, we meet, and Todd, I thought of you immediately. We meet Vikings in the Viking era going on a quest for one village to destroy another village, but there was a predator there. And there was a big fight, tons of gory violence in this. The animation style, I had to stop it and back it up and go back again because it seemed really jittery in that first segment.
It's like the Spider-Verse. It's that animation style where it's on the twos.
Yeah.
It's not. Yeah.
You sound like a weather report. It's on the twos. Lots of violence. And at the end of it, it's, face to face, Predator and our main character, who happens to be a female Viking, and then we cut to commercial, for lack of a better term. Second segment takes place in feudal Japan. I'm assuming I say feudal, but that might not actually be an accurate description of the time period.
Probably, yeah. I mean, shoguns.
Yeah, more ancient Japan. 2 warring brothers who were at odds from a young age, and then you fall upon when they're adults, and it's a ninja assaulting this compound that turns out to be one brother trying to kill another brother, and then a predator shows up, and there's a protracted fight, and at the end of it, it's the ninja and the predator and fade to black. Then 1940s, pre-Pearl Harbor, Florida, a Hispanic family, young Hispanic teen who is handy with the mechanics. He enlists in the United States Navy. He's on an aircraft carrier. He's a pilot. And he's flying a dogflight mission. So up in the sky, and a predator shows up in a ship. All dogfighting, totally awesome. Lots of great back and forth. And like I said, I'm trying to keep it spoilerish free because I would like people to go see it or to turn it on. And in the end of it, all that's standing is our pilot and the standalone predator. And then we flash forward to the Predator planet, which I'm assuming is the same one that Adrian Brody and Eric Foreman were on in the Predators movie. That was one of the movies.
Eric Foreman, I think of like Eric Cartman.
Yes, Eric Cartman. No, it's a Topher Grace, but yes, that's the most famous role. But yeah, in that movie, they all ended up on a predator hunting planet. And so we have those three characters I described to you were cryogenically frozen, and now it's the future, and they're together. None of them speak the same language, but they're trapped by kind of control collars like that in that episode of Star Trek with the
and they show you what happens when they want you to understand language.
Yeah, it's very much like Suicide Squad. So these three have to figure out a way to not get killed, and so that's the movie. It was feature length, 90 minutes probably. Yeah, and very enjoyable. Watched that on Friday night. It came out on Friday, and it's there to be seen. So what were your thoughts?
I really love this, and the fact that Dan Trachtenberg is now essentially the godfather or the creative mind behind Predator. He did this. He basically wrote and directed this. And I like that
nice Easter egg at the end that may or may not have something to do with that movie. But anyway,
yeah, and I like where this is, and where this ends could go someplace else, which is great.
Yeah.
And I really just loved that. Yeah, language is something you had to understand what the point of what everybody's story was. Really good characters.
Yeah.
There was a revenge piece. Then we had kind of a retribution, but that was kind of wonderful. Like, I love the Feudal Japan part because he wasn't trying to kill anybody, and we thought his brother was dead, and it was just worked really well. And I love the fact how they worked together. That was amazing. And I loved how they showed that, we thought they survived it, and then they basically come back in on the scene, the transition piece where the collar's on. So I'm like, they just must have had somebody there and to capture them, because basically Killers, it's like, this is a tournament gathering the people who have killed or been able to stand up to a predator.
It was like Celebrity Jeopardy.
Yeah. So I'm glad we're getting like projects like this that like fill it up and are quality. And I love the anime. And I know you said like the animation style is a little different, but the quality in regards to its quality, it just was that's the aesthetic they went for.
Yeah.
I would love to see more. I think Disney's doing that with a lot of theirs. With X-Men 97, we have the Peter Parker, and we also have.
Yeah.
So I'd love to see Star Wars do more of that, where they experiment with different art styles, because Marvel's doing it. So I think it would be great if we saw that too.
Star Wars has the Visions, which is more
correct, but like the main series that go on forever, that seems like it's more of the same, which that style's now been around for how many years? Let's move on to something.
Well, but again, and right now they don't have anything, so you could be right, they could be moving on. Real quickly, before I cap with my last thing, this did inspire me to watch the original, which I own, but it's available on Hulu or Disney Plus. That was from 1987, starring Arnold Schwarzenegger and the late Carl Weathers, and your former governor there, and he passed away as well, didn't he? Jesse the Body Ventura?
No, Jesse's still around. He's like selling CBD and selling. He was gonna remember when he was gonna try to run with Trump, and then he said Trump's dumb, and I don't want to do that.
Gosh.
So,
I can't believe he's still alive. And one thing I always find hilarious about this is that the guy who was Billy, I was reading the notes, they had to hire a bodyguard for him, but it was to keep him away from other people because he was a notorious drunken brawler. And the one guy who played Shane, the guy who had huge glasses, who made the bad jokes about his girlfriend, became a Hollywood director. He directed Iron Man 3. So just weird facts about what people did after they left this movie. The guy who was Paco went on to be nobody. Oh, and Bill Duke was in this with his creepy dry shaving. It was always the thing.
Shane Black. Shane Black has directed lots of different things.
But he got out.
He directed. What else did he direct?
I can't. It'll be something that'll come right to me. But Iron Man 3 is the first one that I think of because it's an MCU film. But regardless, I assume anyone listening to me has seen it.
He wrote Lethal Weapon. Did you know that?
Oh, which would have been right around the time this came out.
He also wrote The Monster Squad. He wrote Last Boy Scout, wrote Last Action Hero, wrote The Long Kiss Goodnight, Kiss Kiss Bang Bang.
Oh my
It was
gosh.
Basically directed and wrote
That's
The Nice
weird.
Guys.
I wonder how he ended up in this film. It's so random because he was not an actor as his main line of work. He was behind the camera, so it's so bizarre. But anyway, if you haven't seen it, it's an 80s classic. It was filmed all in Mexico.
Wait, you didn't watch Predator 2? Danny Glover's wasn't too old for that shit.
But maybe I will. You know, when he filmed that I'm Too Old for This Shit, he was like 41.
Of course. Yep.
And here,
But
you're 50, I'm 49.
Danny Glover has always looked like he's ready for retirement.
He's got the old face. Finally, a movie that has been a kind of a surprise hit of the summer that Todd and I did not put on our brackets for the competition, but John did. So he's got an advantage in this. That would be Final Destination Bloodlines. It was funny because I looked April and I saw this on Thursday, I think. And I'm like, when was the last time one of these came out? It was in like 2011, which means we had never seen one in the theaters together. We'd watched them time and again on video. And Final Destination is like Jurassic Park. Same plot line every time. A group of people is going to die. One person has a premonition, pulls people out of the thing, and then the thing happens. A bunch of people die, and then death has a design, and it kills them all in weird and crazy ways. This was the final appearance of Tony Todd before his passing several months ago, and I got to tell you, he looks like he walked off set and maybe perished days later. He looked very, very ill in his appearance, which is terrible. But this was interesting. This put kind of a cool twist on it. So it starts in 1968. There's a young woman who I think is a Nepo baby. I looked her up. She's somebody famous's daughter, and I don't have it in front of me right now, but I was like, oh, okay.
Mia Goth. Oh.
Yeah, it was Mia Goth's future daughter who came
all
back
along.
But yeah, she is, and I from the trailer, I thought it was the Space Needle, but they go up in this like new restaurant that looks like the Space Needle, and she foresees a disaster happening and gets everybody out before they die, but she saves like 50 people. And those 50 people, because this was almost 60 years ago, go on to have families and do different stuff. So death kills them all over time. And this young woman, as she ages, kind of goes nuts and keeps track of it with newspaper clippings and stuff, and then disappears to save her own life. And then it comes back around when her granddaughter, who she's never met, is having these horrific visions of all of this happening in the past and how it's all coming due. So nice twist on the concept, because again, it's always like it's a group of dumbass teenagers and they don't drive down the Todd, like,
you can't escape death. You can only avoid it for so long.
The plane explosion. There was the one that Eric roasted you on that you hadn't seen with the logs. That circles back around. That's a part of this movie too, but I don't want to spoil it for you. But one of them was a roller coaster. It's like, but yeah, this was a cool twist on the concept. I think it's kind of worth seeing. It's not a great film. It's not well written. Okay. There's not great actors in it.
I do want to see, like at least watch the first movie, like I said, and then watch this one, because why not?
Yeah, it's just, like I said, we watch all 5 of them during October because they're not even 90 minutes each. And we're like, we'll watch 2 a week for several weeks. And it's just, you put it on the background. So it's fun. I'd recommend it. It's doing well. It's still in theaters. So I'd recommend checking it out. I think it's enjoyable. So with that, our time at the Geek Easy has drawn to a close. We're skipping out, not paying the bill, or we'll actually, I stole this credit card from a guy named Wally Lombago. So I think we'll give him that one. But I've got my Air Qantas app out. It's time to get to the land down under, where Hologram Tina and the mutants await to listen to us talk about the Man of Steel from 2013. Let's do it.
Welcome to another edition of Thunderdome!
Thank you, Tina. The mutants have been gathered for a topic or a game to be entertained. And this week, in the Summer of Superman Part 4, we're talking about Man of Steel. This is 2013. After the perceived failure of Superman Returns, we fast forward 7 years, where we are now in the official part of the Snyderverse, where
this is the Vanguard kicking it off, right?
Yeah, Zack Snyder, after doing movies including Dawn of the Dead, 300, and Watchmen, was tapped by Warner Brothers.
300 and Watchmen sounds like a great movie. 300 Watchmen. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, there's 300 Watchmen to fix a watch.
Right.
Yes. So basically, DC was seeing what was going on with Marvel and like, let's assemble a DCU-verse.
DCU-verse.
Yeah. And basically, they had laid out what they're going to do. Man of Steel was that first movie. So the premise of Superman, Man of Steel, is an alien child is evacuated from his dying world and sent to Earth to live among the humans. His peace is threatened when other survivors of his home planet invade Earth. Zack Snyder, director. David Goyer, screenplay writer, but we get Christopher Nolan's story by. This is the part that confused me. I think
shocked.
it is because he said, don't put Batman in this movie because I'm doing Batman, because I'm already doing my Batman films.
Entire contribution. Yeah, because the last of his movies came out in 2012, so they were over.
So,
yeah, they were
yeah,
over
there
by
must
this
have been
time.
some type of, maybe he was giving pointers to Snyder because he already had worked on the DC universe.
That Snyder ignored. Maybe you should not make this about killing and Doom. No, I don't think so. I'm going to go with
no. But so I just don't know, because obviously Snyder, Nolan didn't want to have anything to do with bringing other heroes and beyond what his scope of his movies were. This movie came out June 10th, 2013. 143 minutes, kind of long. This was filmed partially in the UK and Canada and the US.
Mostly Canada, yeah.
200 and call it $50 million budget, $670 million. So I would say a success. For DC after Superman Returns, which I don't remember how well that did. I know it didn't do great. I think it made 500 million and just did not really resonate.
This wasn't a runaway success because, again, even by a factor of 2, 260 at
this
260.
is like 2.5. Yeah, it's like 2.5 of what it. So yeah, not. But if you think about it, like where it's kicking off, think about all the Marvel movies when they started off, like they weren't huge, but they started
to build. Right.
Yeah, because people after seeing Superman,
they're like, I want to see more.
7 years was a decent gap, but not as long as others had.
Right.
So we got Henry Cavill as Superman, Amy Adams, Lois Lane, Michael Shannon, General Zod, Diane Lane, Martha Kent, Russell Crowe.
Rusty.
Let's see who else.
He's Jor-El.
Harry Lennox. Yeah, Dr. Swanek. Richard Schiff, Dr. Emil Hamilton.
Oh, yeah.
Chris Maloney playing Colonel Hardy.
Guardian.
Kevin Costner. Lawrence Fishburne, Perry White.
Lawrence Fishburne?
Yeah, I would say those are the main cast members. A lot of Kryptonians, though, that had
Rorzar,
names.
Torzar, Jax Lorum.
Lorum, yep. Fiora Ul.
She was the main the woman with the it was like a Victor Newman accent. She was like, I couldn't really figure out where the hell she was from.
Yes.
Krypton.
Yes. So that and then basically just how this movie received. I put kind of the Metacritic and also the Rotten Tomatoes. So about 55 from critics, 75 from audience scores, which I never believe.
7.5. I assume that's out of 10. So that means that
75%.
3/4 of people liked it, which is also reflective. If below that you have the tomato score. So 57% with critics, with 339 reviews, and 75% again with over 250,000 ratings from people. So those match up. Those are extremely close. So
I mean, I would say typically critics tend to be a little harder on movies, and and the thing about Rotten Tomatoes is harder just because that's not like 57% is the score of the movie. It's just saying 50% of reviews were at a certain threshold to be considered fresh. It's like if they get to like 75%, they get positive.
Right.
So I kind of think Rotten Tomatoes versus Metacritic, which is basically takes an aggregate of the reviews and gives them a number. So I'd say that's typically more accurate than when you see something 100% fresh. No, not everyone getting the movie 100%.
It never lasts.
Most of them are positive.
Some stuff can start and tilt. Yeah, exactly. So, all right, let's walk through this movie. You took some notes this time, which is handy.
I did. There were post notes though, because I didn't do it while I watched. I did it after as thought starters when I was thinking about this film.
All right. So was this a carryover from last time you called and you wrote the Zod-iacs? I gave you a hyphen, so you didn't think we were talking about, hey, what's your sign? But the Zod-iac, so these are the people that follow Zod. He's got a whole army this time around. He doesn't just have the chick.
It's like a revolutionary army almost. They are just criminals doing like gigs, and
they were like you know who they were? They were the Dreadnoks. They were like the Dreadnoks from like G.I. Joe. But I loved the first, not even quite first third of this movie, which was on Krypton, and Krypton was like, it wasn't just like it's an ice planet again, and it was this like thriving ecosystem, like it was like a jungle, and so it was like the exact opposite of anything that had been done, and they had tech as opposed to everything's ice and crystals, which is all we've ever seen out of Krypton. Is that was their whole tech level, was everything is white and snow cliffs. And this was like a whole separate plot line with, well, we reproduce in little pods and blah blah blah.
Yeah, don't have natural birth anymore. They
Right.
have they basically
Everybody's
bloodlines. There's
bioengineered.
and it feels like there is a separation of the people of Krypton versus this
The ivory
leadership,
tower,
which
yeah.
they don't love what's happening, and we get kind of a commonality between Zod and Jor-El, where Jor-El obviously gets back to the standard Jor-El. Oh, the planet's going to explode. No, it's not. What do you want to do? So I'll leave. And I'm like, yes, we should all leave. No, we can't do that.
No, we're all
and
gonna
then
die.
in this one, Zod is like, he is there regardless of anything to protect the Kryptonian people
Right.
and keep Krypton alive, regardless of who the government in charge is. So basically, think of like he is in charge of a military coup. He's a revolutionary coming in with people that follow him. Not, like I said, just three knuckleheads doing whatever they were doing in the last one. So yeah, they basically decide to revolt, and then and while Jor-El doesn't align with them, he doesn't get in their way
and
stop them.
Most importantly, and this obviously falls a little bit more in with Superman lore, he and Lara, his wife, have had a naturally birthed child, like the first in generations, and that's a big deal. But Zor-El,
how do they stop that? Do people just not remember how to do it?
They give you the reverse of Viagra pills. No boners.
Was it like fluoride in the water, like in Doctor Strangelove? Oh. It's fluoride in the water, sterilizing all the humans.
There you go. Absolutely. But yeah, so they have a naturally born baby, which is Kal-El, Superman, and at the same time, Rusty Crow steals the Codex, which is this skull or big rock or something that has all of Krypton's genetic information in it, little bits and bops, and he uses it. He like crumples it up, and then they zap it into the baby, and then they're like,
yep,
and then we're going to send the baby away, and that's what they do. But of course, it's a huge set piece with Zod shows up at that exact moment. There's a big shootout. I love it. The terrible dialogue, like Zod wants to get into drill. He's like, direct all of your fire at the front door. I'm like, oh, should we do that in order to get in? It's like,
oh, he's full on military, so he's like in that mindset of that's the way he's playing. Michael Shannon, I like him as well, but he is a little bit of he's a little stiff at points.
It's a little stiff, but it reminds me of just like bad Star Wars dialogue. This seemed very. I said this to you in our war chat on Signal, that while I was watching this, I was like, this is like George Lucas level dialogue. It was really, some of it is that was very clunky throughout. I thought there was a lot of good dialogue in this. I thought when they got dialogue between the human beings, like Perry White and Lois, like I thought there were some great exchanges there, but I thought
and maybe it's because if you think about it, maybe that's the way the Kryptonians, that is the way they are. They're more, I would say, less emotional, more like matter of fact, a little bit more constrained, emotionally stunted. So whereas Zod is definitely not, and I think Russell Crowe in this, he got to actually show some range with some action, and King Ford. I love his voice. He's great.
He was more whooping ass than Brando, who did nothing in the first movie.
Brando is just a guy standing around.
Yes, exactly,
with a flashy coat.
As expected. Like any the pod goes off, it's headed towards Earth, but Zod, as opposed to they then. There's the aftermath. Zod kills Jor-El. Not a big surprise there. And then they're sentenced to the Phantom Zone, and the Phantom. And then somehow they break.
Well, yeah, because I thought at first I thought, oh wow, Zod's going to just take over. Well, no, this little faction is just a small part of like the whole Kryptonian army and military were able to take down Zod because
then they push him to the Phantom Zone, and they do something a little different here. So they do their time in the Phantom Zone.
Well, this is the weird part, Charlie. This is so it's not really they basically put them in cryogenic chambers.
Yeah,
they put them in a spaceship and then they launch it. The part that I didn't understand. Why did they give them fully operational like a battleship? Bad decision, man.
Snyderverse, babe. Snyderverse. No, you're right. Because eventually, now what we learn, obviously, and all the standard shit happens with Superman. He gets to Earth. He gets found by the Kents. He gets raised feeling different. They spent more time on his childhood, like I feel, him feeling different and growing up not being able to control stuff, but he relies on his mother to help him regulate.
He
his
wasn't
powers.
stacking football helmets.
He
getting
wasn't
upset they got knocked over,
and not like murdering somebody. This did generate my favorite meme when a bus goes off. In Kansas, it lands in the only river in Kansas, and it's sinking. And he pulls the bus up, and then the other parents are confronting the Kents. We saw how Clark used superpowers to save our kids, and we're so mad about it. And then Cosner is with young Clark, and he's like, should I have just let all those kids drown? And my favorite meme is like, Clark, you should have let those kids drown because this movie is dark.
It is kind of weird because I mean, we didn't get like we find the baby in the thing. We basically got more of like, here's that adolescent dealing with these problems, like the fact that he's getting now like seeing people with his X-ray vision. He can't control his powers, and how do you deal with it? So very much more emotionally dealing with those issues of what
that worked. And Diane Lane, as you said in your notes, was very much a linchpin to that. Yeah, but we've not really seen Clark's youth because it was football, helmets knocked over. In the Brandon Routh one, it was CGI.
And then Dad has a heart attack as we're walking back.
Yeah, exactly.
That was it with Glenn Ford. It's like,
exactly. It was John Ford, wasn't it? It was a Ford. He was Ford. He was the famous.
It was Glenn Ford. Ford.
Oh, there you go. Whatever. But
not Henry Ford.
Yeah, he died of a heart attack too, I'm sure. But Kevin Costner was the dad, and him as Pa Kent, I'm kind of with you. I don't know that I really loved on that so much, but
I didn't mind the character. I just thought the fact that he was so focused on you have to stay protected, but you're going to do great things, but we got to keep it a secret.
Yeah, exactly.
And that led into like the conflict you finally got it with an adult or close to adult Clark with his dad, probably like 19-year-old Clark. Basically getting mad at him for not letting him show his powers and abilities, and basically said, you're not even my real dad. And of course, what happens when they have that conflict? There's a tornado, a twister.
It's the reverse of the buddy cop speech, let's have a fight, but then those will be the last words we exchange. So I will forever be haunted by it.
Exactly.
So he dies in a tornado, which is a different twist.
Because he died, don't do anything, don't save me.
Don't save me.
Stand there and cower.
Which is dumb because Clark can move so fast that nobody would see him, and plus it was a tornado and nobody was really paying attention. But anyway, so we get a framing sequence of Clark. He's discovering himself in the world. He's working on a trawler, being a fisher guy. Then he has to save a offshore oil platform from exploding. Then he's a barback in the Canadian wilderness.
Well, I love it when he's saving those guys. He's just standing there, flames around his bare chest. I'm like, this dude is jacked, and we're going to show you.
I know. And I love they show him burning, and they show his feet, and they're sticking out of his shoes. I'm like, he's not letting it. Why is he wearing shoes in the first place? But they show him he's a barback in some like Canadian redneck bar, and then some guy tries to get in his face. I love it how he tries to shove him, and the guy falls backwards, dumps a beer on him.
Nothing ever good happens in like a redneck or country bar, does it?
Yeah, and it was very
dumb.
Yeah.
The Blues Brothers.
Yeah,
that's the only good thing in a bad
bunker,
bar.
Which I think was supposed to be in Kokomo, Indiana, which I'm in there somewhat frequently. But eventually, so we get Lois Lane in the story. She's assigned to this discovery in the Arctic of an underground spacecraft, and Superman finds his way there. Clark finds where as well, and that's how they meet. He saves her life from one of the automated defenses, and then they fly off in it because. Am I remembering this correctly? Don't they fly off?
If it goes because the U.S. military was there on Canadian soil, so they couldn't really stop reporters from coming in.
Right.
And then Clark. It was interesting because when Clark tried to deactivate the defenses or activate it, that robot apparently did not know
who he was,
even
though he was all of Krypton. He was all of the Jedi because of his codex or whatever.
And was that one of the original ships? They said like because at the
because
beginning of the
then
movie, because Jor-El mentioned like
Yeah.
we used to go and explore.
So they have this fully interactive Rusty Crow hologram that tells him everything, and he says,
Which
"Well,
was
it
great.
used to be that, we sent out thousands of these ships. They're all over the galaxy, and we find out Zod, who shows up on Earth shortly. It was the same thing when they woke up from their goo prison like thingies,
Because when Krypton exploded, apparently it deactivated
Yeah.
the Phantom Zone.
And so
stuff.
what they did is that they took their ship and they started to go to these outposts that were abandoned and the people had died, and they picked up more tech. They said, including a world engine. And we said that. I'm like, well, I know that nothing's good going to happen from picking that up, because that's third act of this movie. So he shows up to Earth, and then we're maybe halfway through the film, and then the rest of it is just punch up city, CGI, smashing. They destroy Smallville. What they do to Metropolis ends up leading us to the next movie.
So they basically go to Smallville because they're able to track apparently Clark's
little pod thingy. They could.
That's the one thing, because they said they can't find it though, so they need someone to show them where it is.
And
so they do track down to Smallville. They have their
lane a little bit,
Yep, and so Clark has his outfit, and he shows up, and they start fighting.
Big fight.
Yep. So we do find out that Zod, unfortunately, Kryptonians are not set for the environment.
Yeah,
Plus
they
also
the suits.
they start getting their powers emerging, and they can't focus and take in all of the noise, the stimulus. They see their hands and they freak out, and so Superman's kind of got the jump on them
for a while.
But at this point, then the U.S. government does show up. They start targeting them with A-10s. Not a great idea in a small town, but Superman decides to turn himself in, basically to say, hey, I'm trying to show you I'm the good guy.
Let's face it, that first part of it was a much better fight than the Superman 2 town in Idaho.
Yes. They start showing up, in a small town, and
my daddy, oh my god,
arm wrestling, and sit on my lap, honey.
So Superman surrenders himself, but then that results in Zod getting his hands on him, and then we learn all about, obviously, the stuff we were just telling you about the Krypton outposts and whatever. And Zod's big plan is with this world engine thing that they got two of them. They put them in opposite ends of the Earth, and it's going to terraform Earth into New Krypton, which is like, wow, that's the kind of supervillain 101. So it's a race for Superman to destroy both of those, but one of them is, of course, right above Metropolis, wrecking it. And our main characters, we do see Steve Lombard. That's going to be Beck Bennett's role in the new film, and Lois and Perry and some other girl or whatever. They're all in peril trying to run away. And I love it how we're close to the end. This is like things been going on in Metropolis for like 30 minutes or longer, and there's still people not running away. They're like, I'm hovered behind my car while they're just watching things fall apart.
Well, I guess if it's like Metropolis, if Metropolis is like Manhattan,
well, it looked like it was
good luck getting out of town, right? Good luck getting out, because like there's so many roads, and how many people have cars, and like what can you really do? Hide in your apartment, which is probably going to get destroyed anyways.
You're going to cower. But
it's tough. But I was going to say something we haven't really talked about is Lois Lane in this movie,
right?
She starts investigating. She gets brought up to investigate, the crash in Alaska. She starts to investigating. She ends up on the vessel with Clark, and they slowly start a bond. And she gets basically, one of the things we don't cover off of is the fact that the Kryptonians did capture Clark. Well, they took him because that was part of the deal. You get Superman, but we broke the deal because now we're taking Lois, right? So they said, oh, crap. So that's where we get into the fun part of Jor-El, the automated assistant, which I thought was great.
He was
one
like
of the great
Jarvis.
scenes. Yep. So Superman on the Kryptonian vessel, he essentially is back in that environment that I guess that takes away his abilities, which is so weird.
Yeah.
That was something. And Lois as well, she's there, and she is able to escape with the help of automated Jor-El, which is great because he's telling him where to go, where to shoot, which I thought a lot of fun. And then Superman, they did turn off the environment sensor, so Superman eventually could then he basically gets his powers back. Lois
Yeah.
gets in a pod, and Superman has to save her. So that's kind of like how we get when Superman and Lois kind of get that relationship, which
Right.
I think was very good in this movie.
Yeah.
Amy Adams is a much better actress
Oh.
than Margot Kidder. So at least we
Gosh,
do
yeah.
get some good banter. We do get some good.
And definitely not comparing it to Kate Bosworth in the last film, who was just it was one of the that was a swing and a miss. But yes, we do. So there's it is easily.
Charlie, before we went, one of the most important things about this movie had some interesting like partnerships, because we get Pete, Superman's former enemy, now friend, because he realizes he saved him on that bus.
Right.
Now he's a manager. Was it a Denny's or an IHOP?
IHOP. It was an IHOP. Yeah.
It's an IHOP. Yep.
Yeah.
So
poor Smallville. They destroy the Sears. They destroy the 7-Eleven. All great promotional opportunities. Watching those things get blown up. But yeah, they totally wreck it. So but anyway, to kind of crunch down and start to wrap this up. The World Engine. Superman is destroying them, but of course it's wrecking Metropolis, but in the end it's last man standing. It's him and Zod on a field of rubble, and it's just a basic slug out 10 minutes of them punching each other through buildings and all of this, and all CGI, and then they go up into space and come back down again, and they crash into what's basically the Grand Central Station, where there's a group of people huddled in the corner, and Zod says, if you love these people so much, you can mourn for them, and he's shooting his laser eyes, and it's arcing along a wall, but Superman has him in a headlock, and he's like, stop, and he's like, I will never stop, and then Superman goes, crunch, and murders his opponent. Very not Superman-y. But
I will say, at this point, the rest of the Kryptonians got sucked away when the world. They got sucked away. So Zod is the last Kryptonian standing. So ultimately, what would Superman do? There's no place to put him.
Yep.
Right.
Can't put him in
the. They don't have, he's obviously said, I'm going to kill everybody, and I almost did kill those people. Look how much damage ever done.
Yeah,
so I mean, when people say, "Oh, Superman," well, what the hell is he going to do? I just don't know. Like break every bone in his body and hope, or
for the direction the story went in, and then if you try to compare contrast to Superman 2, where he just lost his powers and fell down into the abyss of the earth.
Essentially just kill them anyways, because they all went down to their doom.
Let them die. He didn't kill them. The fall killed them. In this case, he really killed them.
It's not the fall. It's the stop at the bottom, or the bottomless pit that apparently just goes forever.
Yeah, exactly. It goes back into the Phantom Zone,
because they essentially had no abilities at that point, so he didn't even have to do anything to them anyways. He could have said,
he didn't even
flick.
He flicked Zod. This is back Superman 2, and he just fell, and then the big guy jumped and fell, and then Lois punched the Sarah Douglas, the woman, and she just fell. So they just all.
So Lois just did kill her because she punched her and she fell down, because that's manslaughter. That's manslaughter.
If you push somebody off of a roof, that's manslaughter.
Yes. Well, that's murder, because if you assume they're going down there and going to die, that is murder. You're not just like, we were in and after a while, Lois did get to stop and said, oh yes, I'm going to kill you now because I know you're going to fall in the Bible. But once again, my biggest issues with this whole thing was, we're back in the city again.
Yep.
Get out of the damn city. They want to take you out, Clark. Get out of the damn city. You can go anywhere. They even went out to outer space for a little bit, which was cool. Yeah. And maybe he could have thrown him into the sun or something. But this is, I totally get why people say, well, Superman doesn't kill. But I'm like, at this instance, there was not a super jail or prison to throw him in.
They teed up the story in a way that it was the only way. That
there wasn't any kryptonite or anything to take away his powers or abilities.
Not at all a factor in this. I believe it factors into the next film, but it's not even mentioned in this. It's not a part of anything. No.
So it's I get it. I did enjoy this movie when I saw it a second time. I saw the same criticisms, like we talked about how much of Metropolis was destroyed and how many opportunities, even like when Superman was coming forward and he lets that one fuel truck goes over top of him, and what does it do? It goes and it explodes. I'm like, he was at certain points, I don't think he was even trying to stop the destruction, just
very careless,
continuing to go after Zod, which I get it, but
not much
and that's right. And that's part of it. He was fairly new taking on a opponent that was obviously his level.
Yeah.
He had not used his powers fully blown in person, so this was him letting loose in a lot of ways. So maybe he just was overwhelmed. He wasn't seasoned. I mean, he's
Yeah.
used his abilities on the sly a couple of times, but it was an interesting perspective of it.
Yeah.
But one of the things I also thought was funny when they were fighting in that construction area, the sign said no accidents in 165 days. When he hits the thing, it goes to 0 because like the numbers fall off. Thought that was pretty well
It's
done.
clever.
Yeah.
So at the end of it, as you notice, we hadn't seen Clark Kent, mild-mannered reporter, but he has this conversation with his mom. He says, well, I've got to get a job and I want to have something where I can keep my ear to the ground. And so he appears as Clark Kent, and this is kind of funny as it echoes back to the first film. He just shows up and says, I'm a journalist. But obviously back in those days, it was easier to lie about your credentials, where now someone could go on and Google Clark Kent and find out that he has no background. But anyway, he somehow he must use he must kiss somebody at Google and make his memories go away. Or as I noted, he creates a journalism degree from Trump University. Totally legit. Totally.
if the university is no longer there, you can't even check your records. So
exactly.
Or a company, when a company like dissolves, like,
Yes.
oh, pet.com, I was their CEO. How will you never know? You'll never know.
I was a CEO of Toys R Us. You never know. So yeah.
This is, I was surprised, no post-credit scenes in this at all. And there was very little homage to any like prior movies.
Right.
We didn't really get
Clean
we
slate.
got the original Superman origin story, so we did get that, kind of resetting what Krypton was like. We didn't get any Superman in cape doing anything to the public. So the first time the public saw him was in the middle of this Kryptonian invasion. So at that point, one of the things I've struggled with a lot of the way Superman's been handled, it's always like we're first introduced to Superman and we never see him do anything heroic. It's just he's there to stop the worst thing that also looks like he was involved with it. So that's what I did not like about this, is basically as soon as Superman's introduced, that's when the Kryptonians get brought in, which I felt like was a cop out, and I wished they hadn't included them with this, because I wish they would have explored more of Superman and maybe Kryptonians show up in 2,
right,
and
like
then they kind of
like they did originally. Yeah,
exactly,
and they flipped the script on this one, because in the second film, or BVS, which we'll talk about next week, is Lex Luthor is the villain, as opposed to kind of the other way around. So let me blast through some of these comments, and then we'll give it a rating. So we did have some nice turnout from both our own Discord and the folks on Mission Log, which is the Discord I belong to. John Macy from Mission Log said, I thought by itself it was good, with the exception of Potkins and the tornado. There you go. It was more the decisions made after it did not reach WB's absurd expectations that doomed the Snyderverse. That's legit. I understand that. Our own Chipotle Bear from our Discord and our Patreon. Who would have been a better villain than Zod for this one? That's a question. Also, as an origin story, is there anything that you would have loved to see that was overlooked? Was what you were just talking about.
Yeah. I thought Zod was a big mistake. I thought they should stay away from the Kryptonians, because it went back to a movie where they were used. I would have liked to see maybe a Brainiac, or maybe a different type of villain.
Never been touched, and that's like if Superman's villains are Luthor and Zod, like 1 and 2, then Brainiac has to be number 3. I would
or
imagine.
Even Parasite. I mean, there's a few others you can really bring in that are interesting, dichotomies to Superman. But at least Lex Luthor wasn't in this one, because Lex Luthor had been in like all but one Superman film before that.
It's like the Green Goblin. Dave CT01 from Mission Log. We had him on last week as well, talking. Cavill was a pretty good Superman, but a lousy Clark.
We didn't get much of Clark. Well, I liked Clark. I mean, for what he was.
And the ending where Superman kills Zod is a sign of how bad the DC movies would get. But again, we talked about that. It was in the writing of the scene, but where it set him up to no regard. My lovely wife April said, "Why is Lois Lane so annoying?" just really didn't care for his character. I disagree. Sorry, I thought she was okay.
I do too. I thought she was pretty good.
Yeah,
like I said, much better than Margot Kidder.
Yeah, we got two new ones. Sam, who is Tara Nutt again from Mission Log. I remember liking the movie at the time. A lot of the cinematography. But I love the soundtrack. I remember I like the dun 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 dun. I like the theme as well. I know Zod is the bad guy, but he was right about the lack of environmental protection on his planet, and I kind of liked that the message was about that in the movie. So there you go. Pyromaniac, also a new voice from Mission Log. I wanted to say at the time I understood where Snyder was coming from, and while I didn't agree with some of his ideas about it, I could at least appreciate the film as kind of a thought experiment. That's deep. It was just a bad idea to try and use it as a starting point for shared film continuity, or him as the creative voice of that series. That way, that is really the way things work.
True. Yeah, it kind of been nice if we got maybe more voices
Yeah.
building that universe versus
Yeah.
one perspective.
Exactly correct. So yeah, that was great. We love having those comments. Please, on our Discord, I also plumb Mission Log because I'm a part of that community. But on any of our socials. But yeah, all right. Let's rate this movie and we'll move right along. So 1 out of 10 destroyed school buses. What are you rating this one?
I'm going to give it an 8.5. I mean, because I really did enjoy it. I mean, I just a few nits. Other than that, I just really enjoyed this film.
Yeah, I probably won't go quite as high. I do like that they did some different things. So I'm going to swing with probably a 7. It could have been worse. But again, it's darker than the Superman we're accustomed to. But again, they took some liberties that led to a story that hadn't been done before, which is really difficult to pull off in this day and age because everything is so trope heavy. And when you're dealing with the trodden ground of like, oh, Batman, dead parents, and everything's very dark, yeah, you just, so when you swing out and do something different, I think that is legitimately good. So all right, that's the show. Wrapping up the summer of Superman next week, and this is gonna be an interesting one with Batman versus Superman, and we're digging down to the Ultimate Extended Edition. So the longer version. I think Luke Lore is going to be with us. I think we've yet to confirm that, but it's looking very likely.
And we will be on our best behavior, right, Charlie?
I think we should shoot from the hip, but we should not be mean, but we'll see what happens.
Correct. Constructive.
But we'll definitely want interaction from our Discord and from our social. So Todd, if someone wants to drop a note about BVS to you, how do they do that?
Well, to me, at Todd Oxtra is a great way to reach out to me on Blue Sky. But you know what? Go to our. We're trying to we really need to do more with our Blue Sky SFU account because it has all of our content.
Yep.
So DM us there, or message us there, or comment on there. It'd be great to get more things out there because I just do my own thing. I don't want my own personal takes on things to distract from what we're doing at SFU as a group. So I would say just leverage the SFU. Right. At Secret Friends Unite on Threads, or if you're on Threads and on Blue Sky, check us out there. That's where we share stuff about the show, and want to make sure that the word's getting out there.
Absolutely. And we can still be found on Facebook. I know there's some people who are really fixated on that. You can leave us a note there. We will find it. But for myself, I'm available on what I consider to be the main 3, which would be Blue Sky, Threads, or Instagram. You can message me on 2 of the 3 of those. And I'm at the C3THECEETHREE. But again, our Discord, that's where everybody's chatting, and that's where I pose these questions, and that's where we got this feedback. If you go there, search us, don't find us, drop one of us a note. We'll send you an invitation. We'll get that going. But that's the show, folks. As always, thank you for joining us. I'm going to tell you that sharing is caring, and to keep on trucking.
Be the hero, not the villain.
In a truck.
No one kneeled before Zod.
This podcast is part of the Secret Friends Unite podcasting network, available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and podcast services around the galaxy, as well as video on our YouTube channel. You can support Secret Friends Unite by becoming a Patreon member, get bonus programs and more over at patreon.com/secretfriendsunite. Join our Discord community for even more discussions on all things geek. For all the latest updates on Secret Friends Unite, make sure to follow us on Threads at secret.friends.unite and visit secretfriendsunite.com. Find our merchandise at TeePublic and Redbubble. Thanks for listening, and may the Force live long and prosper.